In this video, we're going to be reviewing the Benelli SuperNova Law Enforcement Edition. This gun was originally advertised as the first European-produced shotgun to try to conquer the US market. I'm not sure that they had it right the first time, but with the most recent SuperNova model like the one we have here today, I think they're much closer than I ever expected. The Nova series shotguns were first introduced back in the mid-1990s with the newer SuperNova models released in 2006. Both models include a unique steel-reinforced polymer receiver which is more scratch and weather resistance and looks like a Glock magazine with a little bit wider receiver than a typical Mossberg or a Remington. You also get a reversible safety and rotating bolt. All these guns have been safety checked, by the way. The SuperNova included additional enhancements such as a separate stock and receiver, as well as an enlarged trigger guard which is great for shooting with gloves, etc., as well as a Canoe ComfortTech recoil stock system that is supposed to help reduce the felt recoil of the shotgun. The stock versions are 12 gauge and can take anywhere from 2 3/4 to 3.5 inch shells, which most people won't need unless they're usually doing something like turkey hunting or things of that nature. Most 2 3/4 inch shells are perfectly suited for self-defense and provide a higher capacity, which is always a limitation with shotguns and tube magazines. Some of the major features of the tactical model include the following. The first thing is the standard model comes with a 4+1 tubular magazine, which typically stops right here, which by adding an extender and removing the 2-round plug can convert it to a 7+1 shotgun. The law enforcement model, which comes here today, is stock without this modification. It also includes a nice set of protected ghost ring sights that are adjustable for both windage as well as elevation. The top receiver is also drilled and tapped for 1913 optics rail mount and will take a standard Benelli M4 style mounts. The cylinder bore is a fixed choke on a 18.5 inch barrel. The total weight of the shotgun is 7.5 pounds and has a trigger pull of 6 pounds on my Lyman gauge, just to demonstrate. It's a nice crisp trigger. But it's also a little bit strong, especially compared to competition models. The pump lock release lever is just forward of the trigger guard, which, if you are familiar with the Remington users, this is something that is typical where you would find this on a Remington compared to, for example, a Mossberg where it is typically located behind the trigger guard. And there are also 2 stock swing swivel mounts located on both the stock as well as the forward part of the tube. Beyond the standard features, there's also some notable and distinguishing features of the SuperNova that really differentiate it from its competition. These include the following. First off, there's an extra long foregrip which provides excellent ergonomics to shooters of all sizes that can grab and run the pump action from multiple locations that work best for each shooter. The drawback, of course, with this foregrip is when you cycle the action, it then crosses over the receiver, thereby limiting the ability to run side-mounted shell carriers on the left of the gun, where you typically would commonly see shotguns that would have them today. A slight workaround to this is by mounting an integrated rail and shell carrier made by Mesa Tactical, which now mounts up here and then extends out a little bit to work around this issue. Below the foregrip is perhaps the most innovative and loved feature of this shotgun, which is the mag stop button. This button, when pressed, allows for the discharging and manual chambering of new rounds without feeding from a loaded magazine. So in this case, you push the button and it cycles without pulling a round out of the magazine. This capability was typically limited to semi-automatic shotguns in the past. It really helps to set apart the SuperNova from other competition. For example, let's say that you have 7 rounds of double-aught buck in your tube, but you want to take your first or your second shot past 50 yards using a slug, or you want to use less than lethal rounds to ward off dangerous game without killing them. In this case, you can cycle the action with the bolt and to press the button each time to continuously manual new rounds without having to convert back to what's in the tube. So to give you an example of how this currently operates, these are dummy rounds, by the way. So they are inert. and not a problem. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 rounds in the tube. And in this case, if I wanted to, for example, start out, I would push the button, rack the slide, and you'll notice that none of the rounds that are currently in the tube are in the chamber. Then I can manually load into the chamber, I can fire a round, and then I can either do one of 2 things. I can rack it and pull in a new round from the tube, or I can fire it, push the button, release the round, and then manually load in the next round, again keeping the additional round down into the tube. So this is one of the great features that is unique to the SuperNova, because of this ability now to be able to handle what you want to pull and cycle in and out of your chamber, which again, we're limited traditionally to semi-automatic shotguns, that now you have this capability with the Benelli SuperNova. Another distinctive feature is the ComfortTech stock system, which was designed to help reduce felt recoil. When you look closely at the stock, you'll see that these chevrons that were designed to flex within the stock when fired and ultimately help cushion the recoil of the shotgun. I haven't noticed that big of a difference, but then again, I haven't fired it without this system either. One of the potential drawbacks of the stock, however, is the length of pull, which in my opinion is too long for many tactical shooters. The length of pull is measured from the distance from the trigger all the way back to the end of the stock. The SuperNova comes stock with a 14.5-inch length of pull, which for many shooters who wear jackets or body armor is around 2 inches too long. And ultimately, to compare that, I want to show you my Mossberg, and then compare the trigger pull, and you can see there's a couple inches difference on here. Now in this case I have a Magpul stock which allows me to shim to the length of pull that's desired, but in this case you don't really have that option with the Benelli. The only really option you have is to install what I have here, which is a gel replacement pad, which is basically a 1/2 inch shorter than the stock Benelli pad that you have on here, which basically cuts the pull down from 14.5 to 14 inches, which is still too long for many shooters. In these cases, there are a few options, however. Most people will either buy, for example, an M3 collapsible stock or a Mesa tactical stock with a grip, getting the full pull down to about 12.5 inches, where ultimately it should be. As for price, the SuperNova is typically right in line with the Mossbergs and the Remingtons, so there really is no advantage or disadvantages there. One of the greatest aspects of owning a pump shotgun is ammo versatility. This shotgun will cycle damn near anything you put through them if they are the right standard size and you don't short shuck your pumping of the action, which again can be aided in part by using a longer foregrip for some shooters. This means you can shoot everything from less than lethal rounds, such as this one here with a baton round, to, for example, within 50 yards, you can shoot buckshot loads out to 50 yards, and beyond 50 yards, you can shoot your shotgun like a rifle with the slugs beyond that. There also are options now, for example, with Federal that include flight control rounds, which help reduce the spread or the pattern, if you will, of the shot placements, comparable to and similar to a choke by extending the lethal range of rounds out to 50 yards. Overall, the Benelli SuperNova is a great all-around shotgun that can be used for both home as well as self-defense and hunting. It is high quality and an innovative design, competitively priced and at a great value. Even the French military recently adopted it for use. But if you're going to buy one, make sure to check the length of pull for you, and if this is a problem, at least you now know that you have some options to change the stock out as needed. In the age of semi-automatic shotguns that are so popular today, the SuperNova reminds me of why I continue to love pump shotguns. They are highly reliable, can shoot damn near anything through them, are more affordable than most semi-autos, and are very easy to use with very little training. And most of all, they're a lot of fun to shoot, and with the SuperNova, I'm having more fun than ever with what has now become my favorite pump shotgun. If you like this video or like this channel, please subscribe on YouTube, and thanks for watching.